Hello and welcome to another episode of Goodness Love Alive. Today we're talking to the spa doctor, Dr. Trevor Cates, and we'll be diving into the topic of skin and what are the hidden root causes that might be stopping you from having the skin you've always wanted. Let's dive in. Dr. Trevor Cates, it's wonderful to be with you today talking all things skin. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. It's great to be here with you.
Awesome. So you're known as the spa doctor. You've written a book, Clean Skin from Within. I'm curious, how did you get introduced to the world of skincare and why has it become a passion for you?
Yes, of course. It actually goes way back to my childhood. I had a lot of health issues that showed up on my skin as these itchy rashes, mysterious bumps that would appear. I had eczema and hives and a lot of just allergic symptoms. And my parents took me to see a lot of different practitioners, different health care providers, and everything that they put me on, and the different medications that had adverse reactions or allergic reactions to them. And I remember feeling not only itchy all the time and physically uncomfortable, but also how embarrassing it was, especially with the things that were on my face as a kid, and I couldn't hide it. And and then, of course, all the adverse reactions to the medications. And thankfully, my parents didn't give up looking for solutions for me. And that's what eventually led them to find a holistic practitioner. And that's the one thing that finally turned my health around. And I remember at a young age thinking, why did it take this long for this option to be presented to us? Why wasn't holistic medicine given to us as an option right from the beginning? So much unnecessary suffering. And so that's what led me on the path to become a naturopathic physician. And I've been practicing as a naturopathic physician for 20 years. And I didn't focus on skin until about 6, 7 years ago. I started realizing that the way that people perceived skin and the conventional approach was if someone has a skin problem, you just cover it up or suppress it with a topical steroid or some sort of treatment without really realizing what's behind it. And so I wanted to get this message out to more people that skin is an outer reflection of inner health. And I remember that so well, learning that as a child, and I've seen it so much in my patients over the years. And it's so great that we have skin, our largest organ, as a tool to give us feedback about our overall health.
Wow, thank you for sharing. And I'm so glad that you have gone through the trenches, have come out the other side, and now you're helping thousands of people with their own skin and their overall health. I have a question, and I suppose you've already answered it in a way, but I see tons of ads, right? And they're like, use this cleanser to get rid of your acne, use this for dry skin, use this for that. When someone has a skin issue, how do you approach it as opposed to like approaching it just from a superficial level?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to go and down this path and helping people understand what they're doing internally as well as externally, because it's really both. And I feel that if people are just addressing it, skin issues from the inside out, they're also missing an opportunity because what we put on our skin is important too. So it's really both. But I believe that it's 80% mostly internal, and then that extra part is external. So it's not one or the other, it's really both, but it starts from within. And if you don't do that part, it doesn't matter what kind of cream or ointment or anything that you try to do on the outside. If you're not addressing the problems from the inside out, it's just going to show those root causes, these underlying causes. If it might get suppressed temporarily on your skin, but it's going to show up in your health, either in your skin or some other way. So, for example, in my practice, I've had patients that have told me stories about as a child they had eczema, and then they were given topical steroids, which suppressed the symptom. And then later on, they developed asthma. because that root cause is still not addressed. And so that internal inflammation, the microbiome imbalances with the gut, all of that that's not being addressed. And then still, if it's continued to be suppressed, maybe they get an inhaler and they just suppress that symptom, then maybe later on, oftentimes they'll develop an autoimmune condition or some other health issue. So, the earlier we start to address these things from a root cause, the better off we are. It's never too late. We can still do it later on. It's just easier. And it's just skin is right there on the surface and it's giving us messages almost every day.
I love that, and I love the example of your client with the eczema. So when you say from within, and you gave the example of gut health, when you're saying clean skin from within, what aspects are you looking at? I guess I know that gut health has a massive impact on skin, but what else is there?
Yeah, so I've found that there are six root causes behind skin issues, and not everybody that has a skin problem or imperfect skin has all six of these root causes. And that's why in my book, I talk about five different skin types. I created five different skin types to help people identify which of these root causes are a problem, because I know not everybody can come and see me as a patient and give me their full history. So I wanted to, in my book, simplify it as much as possible to help people figure out which of these root causes are the biggest problem for them. And people can go online and take my skin quiz at theskinquiz.com. Theskinquiz.com. It's a free online quiz, and I talk about the skin types in my book, Clean Skin from Within. Also, to help people find out, so the five skin types are amber, olivia, sage, emmet, and heath. So it's not what you typically think of with skin. It's not dry, oily, mature, sensitive. It's not those types of skin types. It's different because, first of all, I see my patients as people, not just a skin issue. And also, if it's really coming from a root cause perspective, dry or oily, those are just descriptions of how the skin appears, but that doesn't explain what's going on beneath it. So that's why I created these skin types to help people identify that. And yes, gut microbiome is one of the big root causes behind a lot of skin issues, for sure.
Okay. And so what are some of the other root causes outside of gut health?
Yeah, so oxidative damage, definitely that is part of really the aging process. Exposure to the sun, exposure to toxins, that is definitely an issue with what we call the sage skin type in particular. Also blood sugar issue imbalances, that can be a big trigger for certain skin problems. And inflammation is another one. Nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, the gut microbiome, as I mentioned. And so these are some of the big root causes behind skin issues. And like I said, not everybody has all of them. But when you find out which of those are, which of those are your big root causes, as you can hear me describe some of these root causes, you can tell they're not just related to skin, right? We know that these root causes are also connected to many other chronic health issues.
I'm curious about the nutritional deficiencies because I think as a woman, I'm finally attuned to how my hormones can impact my skin. We see it as women throughout the cycle. And I suppose particularly as teenagers, we see that a lot. But nutritional deficiencies, what nutritional deficiencies are key for skin health?
Well, one of the most common ones are when we're looking at essential fatty acids. Those are really important for our skin health. And many people are not getting the right balance of those really great fats, the good fats, the omega 3s, those types of essential fatty acids. And so we're creating imbalances, we're creating deficiencies. And when we look at deficiencies, it's not just when people aren't getting it in their diet, because of course that's important, but also, are they digesting and absorbing the nutrients from their food? And so that's also important. And I find that essential fatty acids are not only deficient in people's diets, but are also one of the things that people often have a hard time digesting and absorbing. So essential fatty acids, another big one is zinc. We need zinc to help with the skin healing wound repair. And so that's another one that we oftentimes see. And there are certain B vitamins that are important for skin. That there are so many different ones. Just to give an example, there is a condition called keratosis pilaris, which is these little bumps that people oftentimes have. Usually appears a lot of, for a lot of people on the backs of their arms, and they are these teeny little bumps. Sometimes people think, "Oh, I just need to exfoliate more," but actually, it can be due to essential fatty acid deficiency, zinc deficiency, certain nutritional deficiencies can be related to that. And so, if we can get those back in the diet, improve digestion and absorption, then we can help heal some common skin conditions like that.
I love it. I love it. I have noticed across social media that I think people in quarantine at the moment are struggling with their skin. People are complaining of dry skin or breakouts or dull skin. Um, why do you think? I don't know if people. Anyway, why do you think people in quarantine are maybe having more issues with their skin than normal?
Well, I think one of the reasons, well, I think there are multiple reasons. One of them is we're tend to be more stressed right now because of all the issues going on. And with stress, that ties into hormonal imbalances, and also it can also trigger issues with the gut and inflammation, a number of different things. But so particularly when we look at uh, stress triggers excess cortisol production, and when we get these increases in cortisol production, it can worsen inflammatory skin conditions. So people with inflammatory skin conditions are noticing worsening. A lot of people are noticing like eczema and acne and things that are there's an inflammatory component to. They're oftentimes noticing that's worse. Now, when you talk about things like maybe dry skin, that could actually be partly nutritional. Maybe people aren't uh, doing, not getting the right kind of fats in their diet. They're not drinking enough water. Maybe also their skincare routine could be a component of that too. Maybe they typically were going in and get like hydrating facials and were doing a better job of going out and getting their skincare products, and now they're just kind of stuck at home without without all the things that they typically use. Because I can say, of course, there's so much that we do from the inside out, but skincare products are important too. And that was something that I didn't really necessarily realize as a naturopathic physician until I started to do research on skincare products, because my patients were saying to me, Dr. Cates, I know you recommend natural skincare products, but I'm finding that they just don't work like the other products I was using. So I started doing some research on why is it that some skincare products, especially the natural ones, why they aren't working. And I found out that there are certain key things with skincare products that we want, and we definitely want clean products. We also want them to be the right formulations, the right nutrients in the products, as well as the right pH to support healthy skin. And you want to be consistent with it too. And so it's one of the things that we've been trying to remind our people with my skincare line, because I have my, my natural skincare line that I created. And we've been reminding our customers, this is a great time. You do your routine twice a day, keep up with it. Now more than ever is a good time to do it. Really instill these healthy habits. And I think there's some people during the quarantine that are doing more to support their health, and then other people that are just kind of not paying as much attention to it. So it depends on where people are on that spectrum, right? On that self-care spectrum.
Great.
Awesome. I'm loving this because I've just gotten into skincare myself
Yes.
after 30 odd years.
It's from watching Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
True, I have to look after myself.
It's like Jonathan says, I need to look after my skin.
I'm curious, from our previous docu-series we created on the hormonal system, and a lot of what we found, a lot of chemicals get on our skin that are endocrine disrupting. I'd love for you to talk more about what people could be putting on their skin, including typical skincare products that could actually be disrupting their hormonal system, or their skin microbiome.
Absolutely. Yes. So, of course, you talked about hormones, and that's why I talk about hormones being one of the big root causes and the underlying causes behind skin issues. And part of it is, hormones that are, as our hormones change, but also there are concerns about hormones and endocrine disrupting chemicals in our environment and our exposure to those, and how that impacts our health and impacts that inability for our hormones to be in a healthy balance. So we are exposed to this group of chemicals, endocrine disrupting chemicals, which are basically hormone disrupting chemicals. We're exposed to these more now than we ever have been. And they're in our air, water, food, personal care products. And while we don't have control over all of our exposure to these, we do have control in certain places, like the foods we eat, the water we drink, what we bring into our homes, and the personal care products we use. And so I think that in those areas are really key for helping people reduce these exposures. And so the thing with endocrine disrupting chemicals is that they will bind to hormone receptors in the body, and they create problems with the way that the hormones function. So they'll mimic hormones, or they'll alter the way that those receptors can act. And so it's been linked, endocrine disrupting chemicals have been linked to a number of hormonal issues, from infertility to early puberty in young people, in both boys and girls. There's more breast cancer, prostate cancer, there's thyroid disease, really anything you think of. There's so many ways that hormones impact our body, and you all delve deeply into that. All those different ways hormone receptors can be impacted by this group of chemicals. So, when it comes to, and I think you're asking me specifically about personal care products, when it comes to skincare products, there are certain ingredients that you can kind of look for to avoid, but certainly you want to choose clean, natural, organic skincare products as much as possible. And
Right.
one of the problems is, in the United States, the word natural actually has no real meaning, in that there's no FDA regulations around what people can, what people have to do to say that their product is natural. There are some regulations around organic, but not natural, not hypoallergenic. So it's good to look at the ingredient labels to understand that you might be exposed to these. So an example of that would be fragrance is an ingredient. Well, it's listed as one ingredient, but it's actually a bunch of different ingredients that they don't have to all be listed on the label, just one ingredient, fragrance. Within fragrance, there are these some endocrine disrupting chemicals like diethyl phthalate. Diethyl phthalate, DEP, is used in a fragrance to help the smell last longer, but it is one of these known endocrine disrupting chemicals. So I encourage people to look for fragrance free, or look for those that are scented naturally with organic essential oils. There are plenty of other options now. That's the great news. I think if I had been trying to make natural skincare products 10 years ago, it would have been a lot harder than it is now. So we have more options available. More companies are understanding how we can make clean products. So that's the good news, is I think we have more options than we used to.
Great.
Excellent. And I'm curious. What I found curious about this whole EDC thing is that it is just so poorly regulated. And I'm curious to know, why do you think that is in the skincare industry? Why, of all things that we're putting directly on our bodies, that it just seems to be almost like the Wild Wild West in terms of what people will stretch the limits to put on our skin. Why do you think that is?
I think there are a lot of myths about skin, or misunderstandings, or just lack of knowledge and understanding of how our skin works. Our skin is our largest organ, and we have to remember that um, it is part of our body, is intricately connected to everything we have. We put hormone creams on our skin, nicotine patches on our skin, because that is a way that we can we can absorb these into our bloodstream, into our bodies, but we forget that some lotion we put on, a sunscreen, that ingredients from that can also get into our bloodstream. And I think a lot of times people don't make the connection on what they put on their skin, that it'll actually make it into their bodies. But I encourage people, and this is a little bit extreme, but think about it. Every time you get ready to put something on your skin, think about, would you put it in your mouth? And of course, skincare products aren't designed, none of them, even the natural ones, aren't designed to be eaten, but it makes you stop to think, what am I putting on my body? And if I don't know what's in it, maybe I should learn what's in it and look for clean options. Because I can tell you that a lot of the ingredients that we put in our skincare products are actually things that people take as supplements, like CoQ10, vitamin E, some of the herbs, white tea, black tea, ashwagandha. These are things that people take as supplements. And even essential oils, there are some that can be okay to consume in small quantities. But when you look at something like synthetic fragrance, you wouldn't want to consume that. You wouldn't even want to open your mouth when you're spraying it, right? So we need to be more mindful, and I think that's one of the problems that people have, is that we forget to make that connection.
I love it. Thank you. So for our viewers watching that are just like, oh my gosh, Dr. Cates, I am putting toxins all over myself every day. What would you say? What would you say would be the minimum skincare routine that you would recommend? So, what should the essential skincare look like, and what sort of ingredients? I know your ingredients sound awesome. Like, of course, I want to put superfoods on my skin. Why not? Like, if that's an option, then why not? But what would be a basic level? This is the essentials of what you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And I believe in simplicity. I think a lot of times we overcomplicate skincare, and it's different for men and women. So women typically like the process of using a lot of products, whereas, and not always. I typically tend to be. I've always been more of the simple routine, but I find that a lot of my friends, they love to try different products, whereas men are, give me one or two products. What is it that I need? So I think though that you can really keep it simple, and then whatever else you use is that's up to you. That's sort of a personal choice, but make sure it's clean. So the basics are going to be a really good cleanser. And I think we're talking mostly about the face, but of course you want to address the skin on your entire body. But of course, our face is what gets the most exposure to the sun, what people see the most. So a lot of times the focus is on the face, and the skin on our face is slightly different, quite different actually, than the rest of the skin on the rest of our body, but it still needs a lot of attention. But we're talking about the face. A good cleanser is key. So this is one of the big mistakes though that people make, is a cleanser that is too harsh. A lot of cleansers are actually stripping the skin. And so we talked briefly about the gut, and there's the gut microbiome with all those beautiful microorganisms that live in and protect our gut health. Well, we also have a skin microbiome. And these microorganisms live on our skin and help keep it clear, keep it from breaking out, keep it from having rashes, and also keep it aging gracefully. And so we want to provide it the kind of nourishment and the environment to flourish. And our skin has this natural mild acidity to it that creates that acid mantle, the barrier function of the skin. So one of the biggest functions of our skin is to protect us from the outside world. So there's this mild acidity that exists in our skin naturally. So a lot of cleansers actually have a high pH. So this is too high for the skin. And so it strips that natural ability to flourish, and also stripping the beneficial oils in the skin, because we need these oils in our skin in the right balance to keep our skin healthy. So when I was looking at creating a cleanser for my skincare system, this was a really key part of it because I didn't want the typical foamy cleansers that have the high pH that strip all the oils from the skin. I created an oil-based cleanser that actually still has some mild acidity to it. So it's not going to disrupt. It still will clean the skin, but it's not going to strip it. And this is one of the first things that people do. So what a lot of people do is they'll use these foamy cleansers that are stripping the oil, that are disrupting the pH, and then they'll use a toner to help restore the pH. So then I find that if you use a good cleanser, you don't actually need a toner. Then you can go into the second step that I like is as a serum, and serums are designed to absorb rapidly. And that's when we have an antioxidant serum, so you can get lots of those protective antioxidant rich ingredients that protect the skin from oxidative damage. And then you want to hydrate. You want to hydrate with a really good, clean moisturizer. And here's the thing about moisturizers is that many of them contain petroleum byproducts, mineral oils, those types of oils. But we have so many beautiful plant-based oils that are so much healthier for our skin. And there are concerns about mineral oil having contaminants. So there are concerns about that. So just picking plant-based oil is such a nice alternative to that. So again, a cleanser, then a serum, a moisturizer, and doing that both morning and night. And so with my system, I also have a plant-based oil blend to add extra hydration for the skin. And then during the day, a zinc oxide based sunblock. So if you want to talk about sun protection, I think that is important. Of course, if you're not going outside at all, you don't have to wear it, but only if you're going to be in the outdoors. And I think hats and things like that are also great to protect the skin.
So good. I'm curious as well, if someone was looking right now and they're listening to this and they're just totally freaking out and they're a little bit overwhelmed, and I think when people are overwhelmed, they then just shut down and they don't do anything. So I'd love just a practical, Dr. Trevor, let's do something about this, and something that people can do tonight. What could they do tonight by going to their skincare cupboard and really detoxing what's there and knowing exactly what's, I guess, maybe like the dirty dozen, like it is for foods at times. What do they really need to focus on? And how quickly can they, really clean up
we're
their...
ditching the fragrances. We're ditching the foamy cleansers. What else should we be looking for?
Yeah, and also the petroleum byproducts.
That's
so
right.
Anything with mineral oil. Also, I would ditch those too. And then, as I mentioned, the zinc oxide based sunblock as being a better alternative. I would look at if you have anything that has oxybenzone in it. That is one of the endocrine disrupting chemicals that's in chemical sunscreens. So I would definitely avoid that one as well. I tend to believe that it's, just to get rid of the paraben products too. Anything that has paraben at the end of the word, I would toss those too. I just don't feel like they're necessary. There are natural preservative systems that I believe are safer in the long run. I think those are nice. Another thing that people forget about is that skincare products don't last forever. So I talk to women all the time, especially women that have so many products in their bathrooms and in their cupboards that have been sitting there for years. And so it's time to clean those out. If it doesn't have an expiration date and you don't know when you bought it, it's probably good to just replace it because. And here's the thing too, is especially the products that you open and you put your fingers in, because every time you open that and you're sticking your fingers in it, there is the possibility of contaminating the product. And when you're talking about natural products also, they, you want to be particularly careful. So most of our products, the Spa Doctor products, are in pumps, because that way we know people aren't sticking their fingers in there. We have one product that is a jar that you open and it comes with a little spatula. And I know that other products make those, but a lot of people just toss those. They just don't think that they're necessary, but there's a reason that we give you that. And that's so you don't put your fingers in, that you're using that. and then wash it before you use it again so that you're not contaminating your products every time you're using them.
Great. Well, I'm feeling very convicted right now, Dr. Kate. I think I need to go on a little quarantine spree after we get off this call. But I have a quick question about sodium lauryl sulfate. I think that was one of the earlier ingredients that I think consumers cottoned on to. That's probably not a good idea. But then I'm seeing lots of labels will say sodium lauryl sulfate free or SLS free, and then you turn it on, look at the label, and there'll be some variation of that word on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same thing or is it different? What are your thoughts on that?
There are varying levels of the environmental impact for sure on those. Some of these are coconut derived, and surfactants and things. So I think that there are probably ones that are better than others as far as an environment is concerned. And I think that's one of the big concerns, as well as some people have allergic reactions to some of these products. And if you tend to be someone that has sensitive skin, I think it's always a good idea to do a skin test with any product that you use. The first place you could try is on the inside of your forearm, that we tend to have sensitive skin there. So that's at one place. And then also just inside the inside of your jawline, because that's closest to the type of skin you have on your face. And it's also hidden if you do have a reaction. So I tell people to apply something, wait 48 hours to look for any kind of reaction to that. And then also it goes back to also the pH of the products. Sometimes that ingredient, when that's in there, even though it might be a more environmentally friendly form, I would still encourage people to look at the pH. So if you don't know the pH of your products, you can simply get little pH strips. And if the product is 100% oil, you can't test the pH of an oil product. But anything that is a cleanser, lotions, those typically, your serums, toners, those you can test the pH. Just get a pH strip and test it. And if it's 5.5 or higher, it's going to be too high for a healthy skin microbiome.
Great. Thank you.
Another quick question. We love these quick questions, which turn into obviously amazing answers.
They're not that quick.
A lot of people in our community are postmenopausal women, and they're bombarded by messages every day about aging, wrinkles. What's a natural approach to aging, and how maybe someone might be looking, might be paranoid about wrinkles, or they're thinking, what can I naturally do about them? What do you tell your clients, and what's your perspective on that from a natural perspective?
Absolutely. So I'm 47, and I remember when I turned 40, I remember thinking, oh, wow, I think at every turn of a decade, you start to look at your skin thinking, oh my gosh, look at the changes happening in my skin. I've got more wrinkles, or looking closely at your skin. And I would say the first thing is, remember that aging process actually is natural. So doing things like Botox certainly is an option for people. I'm not particularly convinced that it's 100% safe, as a lot of people will say. But if you're, looking at what is natural, aging is a natural process. At the same time, I understand that nobody wants to look older than they actually are. So we all want that kind of youthful radiance. And a lot of that youthful radiance comes from inside of our confidence, our self-esteem, and that can cover up wrinkles in a magical way. So that's the first thing, is finding that confidence from within, and not feeling the need to get rid of or criticize every wrinkle, every change that happens with each decade, is to realize it's part of the process. Okay, I still know we want our little natural tricks and tips. So going back to a healthy skin microbiome and that natural mild acidity, things that help support that are also going to help with graceful aging. So looking at the pH of your products and using natural actives, things like antioxidant rich oils, some of these plant-based oils like cranberry seed oil, pomegranate seed oil, raspberry seed oil, sea buckthorn fruit oil, which is so high in vitamin C, and these beautiful omegas that are going to help nourish the skin over time. Now, is it you're going to notice a difference overnight? Maybe not, but over time you will notice that. And then, of course, again, from the inside out, what are you eating to help nourish your skin from the inside out? If your body is, as we age, we have more oxidative damage. So eating more antioxidants. We also our skin starts to break down, the collagen starts to break down in our skin, which causes more wrinkles and sagging skin. So to help protect against that, we want to eat foods that help promote collagen production, like vitamin C or things like bone broth. And then we also want to manage our blood sugar, because when we have these spikes in our blood sugar, that actually speeds up the aging process too. So there are plenty of things that you can do naturally, and remember to have realistic expectations as well.
Awesome. Well, that has been so jam-packed. I've loved this call. And I'll be honest, I haven't put my skin first. I'm very much for the inside out kind of gal. I think I need to up my ante on the outside in aspect of things. So thank you for giving us some very manageable directions there. And I'm so appreciative. For anyone listening, I definitely recommend you check out Dr. Cates' line. I'll be doing that myself over at thespadoctor.com. Is that correct, Dr. Cates?
Yes, and doctor is abbreviated DR, so it's THESPADR.com. Yes.
Perfect. You've definitely opened our eyes to new ways to look at our skin, and definitely I think that was a very empowering call, because for anyone that's had lots of flare-ups and they don't know what's wrong and they're trying all these creams or different, like cycling through all these things, there's so many root causes we can look into, and I think that's ultimately such a hopeful message. So thank you so much, Dr. Cates.
Absolutely. Thanks for interviewing me and having me on.
Wow, what an incredible interview with Dr. Trevor Cates. She totally packs so much into such a small space of time. So we hope you guys can take a lot of action out of that call, and would actually love to hear about it in the comments below. What are you going to be doing to change your skincare habits? And that includes you as well, men. We're a part of this as well. So
you also have skin.
You also have skin. So let us know in the comments, what will you be doing? How will you be cleaning up your cupboard, or whatever you're using to put on your skin? And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And there's also a little bell that also helps you not miss out on any other future episodes as well. All right, we'll see you again soon.
See you next
Bye for
time.
now.